Hello, this is Faith at Faith&books. How are you doing? I have a few minutes here, I think, while I'm waiting for my grandchildren, so I thought I'd talk about a book I just finished, and that is The Inheritors by William Golding. And it was a Faded Pages book club read, and I did the picking because I had just finished reading about Neanderthal Man for Historathon, and I found out that William Golding had written a work of fiction based on Neanderthal Man. And so I suggested it for the Faded Pages, and we read it, and nobody liked it. I don't think anybody appreciated it, but I didn't hate it. I thought maybe I'd picked a real clunker, but in the end, it kind of worked for me. And there were some things about it that I really appreciated. So it was written back in the 50s, I believe. And I think it was his second novel. Oh, the sun is really... Okay, there we go. That's better. And it's about the extinction of Neanderthal. So it follows this small group of people. And one by one, they go until there's one left, and well, sort of. And so most of it is through the eyes of one of the members of this little group, Locke, L-O-K. And he's not as smart as the other guys. There's an elderly man, and then there's another guy, I guess about Locke's age. But they go first, and so Locke is left, and Locke isn't as smart as they are, and none of them are real smart. But they have sort of a gentleness about them, and they're not hunters. They're more scavengers, and kind of omnivores. You know, they eat fungus and berries and shoots and things like that. And then when they can find a fresh kill, they eat that. And they're not very advanced with tools or anything like that. And we know a lot more about Neanderthal now, so we do know that they were pretty more advanced than we first gave them credit. So you have to forgive Golding that he didn't have that much to go on. In fact, to me, it wasn't really historical fiction. It was more of a fantasy, because he has to build this whole world. And he tries to do stuff with language that I found really confusing. There were two elements that I found confusing. One was he was using words in two different ways. Like, he would use the word twig to mean an actual twig, and then he would use it to mean what I think was an arrow or a thorn bush. They carried thorn bushes with them, but they weren't really thorn bushes. I think they were more like what do you call it? Like a javelin or a spear. It had something with a pointy end, a stick with a pointy end. So, and he did that a lot, and that really confused me. You're also interpreting everything through Locke, who not only has a completely different frame of reference, but also is more simple himself. So you had like two levels of that going on. So I found a lot of the descriptions really disorienting. I just couldn't quite get what Golding was saying. I couldn't picture it, which was ironic, because one of the things about the Neanderthals was they were more intuitive and they could picture things together. They were almost telepathic in that sometimes they could share pictures that they saw. And I thought that was Golding's kind of clumsy attempt at going into a pre-literate mind, and also maybe accounting for the fact that Neanderthals did have bigger brains than Homo sapiens sapiens. And he also had them really being able to scent things, to smell much better than we can. And it is true that their nasal passages were bigger and different from ours, like slightly. So they did breathe a little differently. And so maybe they could smell better. He had them being a lot more ape-like than I think they really were. But the thing is, Locke is a very appealing character. He's naive, he's loving, he's kind, he's childlike. And so I really cared about him, and I really cared about his mate Fa as well, who was smarter than he was, but also kind. And they, I really felt for their plight, so I felt a lot of compassion for them. And so I was really concerned about what was going to happen to them. And in the even though a lot of times when I was reading, I didn't understand exactly what was going on, I would understand enough that I wanted to see what was going to happen next. I wanted to see how it was all going to end. And I thought at the end of the book, Golding does a couple of things that I thought other people in the book club didn't appreciate it, but for me, it was emotional. I really felt it. We stop seeing things through Locke's eyes, and we see it like from a distance, watching him from a distance in like more of a third person remote thing. And I thought that was it really, to me, emphasized his desolation and despair, and that the end was coming, and he was going to, go extinct. And I don't think at this time they knew that we had interbred, so they thought they had gone really extinct. And then I liked what he did at the very end, where he suddenly switches to the Homo sapiens sapiens. I thought there was there was some subtlety in there that I didn't grasp, and it might improve my comprehension and my grasp of the subtleties might improve on rereading. However, I don't know if I want to reread it, because I did struggle so much. The first half was a struggle, and then once I got into it, the second half I found compelling. So I would give it 3 stars. I guess I just like William Golding's writing more than the other people who happen to be in this book club. I'm not going to be picking another book for a while in this book club. I'm going to alienate everybody from me. But yeah, so that is my review of The Inheritors by William Golding. Okay, talk to you later. Happy reading.